You are listening to the Shopify Solutions Podcast, a podcast for Shopify store owners that brings you concrete examples on how to build and grow your e-commerce brand. Your host is Scott Austin. He owns a Shopify agency called Jade Puma. In this podcast, Scott will share his e-commerce insights and best practices with you.
Hey, Scott Austin here. This podcast episode has an accompanying video. So if you're listening to the audio version and want to watch the video, go ahead and find the link in the show notes to the video. Now, on to the episode. Hey everyone, Scott Austin here, and for this week's episode, I have a guest. I'm a big believer in content marketing, which means SEO is really important, and I'm not the smartest person about SEO. So I wanted to bring in one of the smartest people about SEO, and that is Josh George, who owns a agency in London called ClickSlice. Welcome, Josh.
Hey Scott, thanks for having me on.
Thank you. So can you tell me a little bit about ClickSlice and what sort of services you provide?
Sure. So ClickSlice is predominantly an SEO agency, e-commerce SEO agency based in London in the UK. We've been going since 2016 now, so what's that, about 8 years? And we work with about 32 clients a month at the moment. They range from small e-com brands, maybe doing 6 figures a year, all the way up to e-com brands doing 9 figures a year. And predominantly, they hire us so they can get seen on Google, generate more organic traffic, and of course, more organic sales.
A total aside question as you bring that up, like what percentage of traffic do most people get from Google versus the other engines? In my clients, it looks like it's 95% Google and 5% everybody else. Is that normal?
That is very normal, yeah, especially with the brands we work with. It's not like that when we take on brands. Predominantly what we see is a lot of the traffic's coming from paid social, whether it's Meta, Instagram, and stuff like that. And that's great. But as you know, there's not much like search intent behind those platforms. You just see an ad based on who may be interested in your product based on audience target and settings and stuff like that. But with Google, there's so much more search intent. If you sell, I don't know, video lights, you want to be seen in front of people searching for video lights. Your conversion is going to be higher. So we always kind of kindly tell brands, without being too biased, that you probably want to reallocate your marketing budgets to be a bit more effective. But yeah, it's typically Google around 90%. On the lower end, I've seen it's probably about 60%, which is still more than half.
Yep. Is that a country specific thing, or is that just the lowest is like a UK thing, or is it like in Zimbabwe it's different or something?
No, it's pretty much just what I see across the board. We primarily work with clients that are English speaking languages, so UK, US, Australia, and Canada. That's our four primary markets. And although we're a UK agency, the bulk of our clients are actually in the US, which is actually quite interesting.
Well, we seem to have a lot of e-commerce over here, which is probably why. Well, it's interesting. It's like I would say 2/3 of my clients, maybe 3/4 are US, but I also have a lot of international too. But it's all English speaking because that's the only language I know how to talk. And I love the fact that you guys are focused on e-commerce SEO. Do you see that e-commerce has different best practices than other websites?
It's a really good question. We actually started off as a generic broad agency, and actually till this day, we still rank number one in the UK for SEO Agency London, which is obviously a generic term. And that's great. But what I found, it was more of a strategic business decision, because when we're offering SEO to a Shopify website, a Magento, a local business, WordPress, like our processes in the back end are a lot different. It's not the same button to access somewhere. There's no collection pages on, Magento. It's all different names and different process, which makes it a bit more confusing for our team. So we just said, look, all the clients we have at the time was about 15/20. Who are the bulk of our clients? Who are we getting the best results for? Who do we enjoy working with? And where do we see the future of like kind of search going? And e-com isn't going anywhere, but nowhere whatsoever. So we decided to niche down on e-com. And in terms of processes, it's definitely a lot of few things you do differently for Shopify brands in comparison to WordPress brands. Do you want me to touch into it or?
Oh, absolutely. Our audience is all Shopify, right? My agency is all Shopify. So the more Shopify specific you can be, the better.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of practices that you do for a local business, maybe a plumber in New York, right, that you wouldn't do for an e-com brand. And when you're a local business, you want to be seen in the local map pack, and you start building citations, you get into directory listings. And what I found with those type of businesses, which didn't really sit right with me, is we can get them the traffic. That's not a problem. That's what we specialize in. But if the website doesn't convert well, or they're getting 10 leads and their salesperson isn't calling them back and handling, then they may come around and say to us, SEO doesn't work. Like, hold on, but you've had all these leads, you just haven't closed them. And that's kind of not my issue. That's, you need to figure out your business. So when it's more e-commerce, you remove all of that process. There's no pick up the phone, give them a call, trying to do a site survey, go to the app. Like, you literally just have a product this is the price, this is the shipping, this is the return policy, these are the USPs, would you like it or not? So it removes a lot of that. So that's why I wanted to niche down. But what we found to work really well for e-com brands, which in my opinion, I would say is one of the most effective SEO strategies, and also one of the cheapest, so I hope a lot of your viewers can appreciate this, is adding content on your actual category pages. So to touch on that a little bit more detail, understand why that's really important, is if you take a step back and look at how Google actually works, it has this spider, which is basically called Googlebot, and the job of it is to crawl the entire internet, read your content, look at all of your pages to understand what your pages are about, right? But category pages are notoriously known for not having much content on them. You've got your title, you've got your products, add to cart, and that is pretty much it. So when Google spiders come into your page to understand what your category page is about, it's not that clear. So to make it more clear to Google what your page is about, you simply need to add content below the products. And give you an example, if you have a brand that sells, I don't know, men's razor blades. I mean, for the viewers that are watching, you'll see I don't have much facial hair, so it's probably a bad example. But if you sell men's razor blades, right, you should be adding content below your products on, the different types of razor blades, the pros and cons of razor blades, like anything related to razor blades that isn't too informational in intent. Add that content below your products, get it formatted, use a H1 tag, H2 tag, get your keywords in there. And you will instantly, I kid you not, like probably within 24 hours, depending on how often your site gets crawled, you will start to rank higher for terms that are relevant to that category page. And then you'll start to get more organic traffic and more organic sales. And the cost of that is literally just adding content, which is super easy to do in today's age.
Yeah, well, and to reinforce that, because I totally agree with you. Two things you said that I like. The first one was move the content below the products on the collection page. So that's a little code hack you have to do, or a little bit custom bit of coding. I use the Flex theme all the time, so we just put a custom liquid section down there and put in liquid collection.description. And the other thing that people need to think about is when people search, like using your razor blade example, they might search for best razor blades for beards. They're not searching more, or there's less searches for Gillette beard razor blade SKU number 46753, right? People are searching a level up from the product. They're searching for categories or solutions or ideas, and that's where collection pages are going to be far more relevant than product pages. But we spend a lot of time putting the content on our product pages and not on the collection.
100% agree with you. It's crazy when you think about it. And to touch on the example that you just said of razor blades for beards and there's just generic razor blades, your two collection pages. There's a thing called search intent as well, as you probably already know in SEO. And if you used to open two tabs on your browser, Google Chrome, go into Google and in one tab search for razor blades and the other tab search for razor blades for beards. If you look at both those Google results and you're seeing the same websites listed for both different searches, and that tells you the search intent is the same. So you can target both keywords on the same collection page. So if you see two different collections, you're seeing different pages, then what that means is you need two different pages. And this is kind of a big issue I see where a lot of e-com brands go wrong. They don't do this initial research and analysis. So what they do is they say, hey, I'm going to target both terms on the same page. And in reality, you actually need a separate page. So the strategy is flawed from the get-go and you have no chance of ranking.
Yep, that makes sense. Now, on Shopify stores specifically, people, the first decision they're making in their presentation of their website is the theme. Is there a difference in Shopify themes in what they do on the back end for SEO, or are they all essentially equal?
No, I mean, we have over 30 clients at the agency and none are using the same theme. A lot of them are using custom themes. Some are using ones out of the box. The theme doesn't really matter. It's what you do on top of the theme, and you can edit literally every theme anyway. But it's funny because a lot of people kind of get, I wouldn't say misled, but they kind of overhype technical SEO. They need technical, and
glad you said that because I hate technical SEO.
Yeah, it's a buzzword, and I'll be totally honest. Shopify SEO, e-commerce collection pages. All you really need to do is make sure your website loads under 3 seconds. The rest of the other stuff, yes, it's just a tick box. It's a tick box exercise. It's got to do this. Have I done that? Have I done this? It doesn't actually matter. Like we have some brands that are turning over insane amount of revenue every year, and they have the basic technical things that haven't been done. Like the site loads in 3 seconds. They've got the basic SEO points in check. They rank. They've got high quality backlinks. They've got a strategic content marketing plan going out. Forget the other stuff. Too many people focus on ticking all these boxes, and in reality, they make little to no difference.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because my very skeptical attitude towards SEO agencies is they'll spend a lot of money doing a lot of technical things, and you'll see no business gain from that, and it's a lot of theoretical. So let's switch that around. Let's take a brand new Shopify store. They're not doing a lot of money. they haven't, produced revenue yet. They want to get in the SEO game. What are the first like 2 or 3 best practices that a new store needs to think about as they start investing in SEO?
Sure. Number one is doing enough research in the planning stages. So the example I gave you, the keyword search intent. So I'll give you another example to probably hit it home a little bit harder. So imagine someone's listening to this and they have, 100 inflatable kayaks in the garage that they want to start an e-com brand for, right? So they would do the same thing. They would go onto a tool like Ahrefs, SEMrush, Google Keyword Planner, all these tools where you can find out what people are searching for. Again, really good to know. Gives you an idea on the market demand. So if you see people are searching for inflatable kayaks, of course, have your collection page for inflatable kayaks. But there's other ways people search for inflatable kayaks, such as best inflatable kayaks. Again, don't just assume because they're related to kayaks, they can be targeted on the same page. If you do your keyword research and just, again, open 2 tabs, you don't even need any tools. Just open 2 tabs in Google and look at the websites you see. If you're seeing different pages, you need different pages to rank for those terms because they're not the same. So please make sure you're doing enough research, because what we find is the majority of clients that come to us, they simply have the wrong SEO strategy. So it doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter where they get featured, what blogs they put out, what backlinks they acquire. It is literally impossible to rank because Google sees your keywords completely different. So putting them together on one page, again, doesn't make any sense. So the number one thing I recommend is doing enough research in the planning stages.
So that research is determining what your list of keywords is, correct?
Is that, and the most important part isn't just determining what the keywords are, it's assigning them to the right pages. So we call it KM, keyword mapping, essentially. But it's mapping. That's really, really important. And we actually do that for prospects before they become clients, because if we don't know how many pages we're going to target, then we can't actually quote them effectively, because for each page you need dedicated resources to push it up, right? And the more pages we have, the more we're spread thin. So it's always taking a data-driven approach. And as you know, so many e-com brands have thousands of products, hundreds of collection pages, and if the keyword strategy is wrong, it doesn't matter what you do on top of that. I guess it's like building a house. The keyword strategy would be your foundation, like what you do beneath the bricks. And if that's wrong, it doesn't matter if you put the best bricks on there, the best windows, best bifold doors, like it's all going to come crumbling down.
So on the keyword list, I like your inflatable strategy idea or example, right? So I do some keyword research and I find out there's inflatable kayaks, right? Inflatable kayaks for fishing, inflatable kayaks for exercise, inflatable kayaks brands, best inflatable So you just come up with this list of keywords and then you determine which are unique by Google's mindset, because Google might have a synonym, this fishing one and deep sea fishing, same search term in Google's mind. So you'll put them in whatever your rows, you'll make a second column or whatever for that kind of thing. And at the end, you've got this list of rows, which is your unique keyword, let's call them sets, since we're grouping them together, like you said. And then you assign them to a page. And that, I assume, could be a product page, a collection page, a page, and an article page. Is that the way you think about that?
In terms of what you said, in terms of the mapping, like column 1, column 2, that's absolutely correct. In terms of whether you use a product page, a collection page, or a blog post, that is determined by what you see in Google. But often what we'll see is 9 times out of 10 going to be a collection page. And often what you find as well is you can list the same products on all these different pages because users search differently for the same thing. So it doesn't matter if you have the same products on 5 different collections, but the keywords you're targeting is different. And the reason why this is so effective is because if you look at it from a user's perspective, right? Let's use a different example to make it a bit more holistic. Imagine electric bikes, right? You have foldable electric bikes, fat tire electric bikes, step-through electric bikes, right? Half of these bikes are pretty much very similar. Like the bike for fat tire is the same as the generic fat tire. But if I'm a user and I go into Google and I search for foldable electric bikes, and let's just forget that some of the generic ones fold anyway. If I now see a collection page that says foldable electric bikes, here's all the descriptions, foldable electric bikes, here's some content about that is 100% bang on what I search for. So I'm way more likely to convert as well. Whether if I land on that generic page and I want an affordable and I got to click a filter and it's just long for me. So, it doesn't matter if you have the same products across multiple collections. It's just about making sure the user journey is 100% spot on.
That makes sense. So step 1 in our beginner's SEO strategy, make your keyword mapping.
Correct.
All right. What is step 2 for that small store owner?
Step 2 would be optimizing those pages. So when it comes to SEO, as I said, there is so many things you can do. And I don't like to talk about every single thing because in reality, there's 200 different signals a month Google looks at. I'm not a guy that has 200 hours of time to do these things. I like to focus on the 80-20 rule, or 28 rule, sorry. And the most impactful thing you should be doing is putting your keyword in your URL, because what that does is sends a very clear signal to Google. Before it even looks at this page, I know what this page is about. This is about fat electric tires or foldable electric tires. Before it even visits your page, it knows what your page is about. So keyword in the URL. Second thing is keyword in your title tag. So the title tag is essentially the title you see in Google search results when you carry out a term. Again, get your keyword in the title tag. Don't just chuck it towards the end or in the middle. It's actually an SEO hack. It's not really a hack, but it works very well. Is put the keyword towards the front of the title tag because it gives it more weight in Google's algorithm. So keyword in the URL, keyword in the title tag. The third thing is put your keyword in the H1 tag. So the main heading above your collection page, again, to make it very clear. And when I'm saying put in your keyword, by the way, I'm not just saying like just put foldable electric bike. Foldable, like, that is spammy. It needs to be, user friendly as well. So maybe the best electric bikes in the US, or electric bikes to save you time on your journey. Like, make it more conversion friendly as well. That's the three things. And then you obviously have your keywords in your H2 tags, and that will be the content you have below the products. And it's really important you target as many relevant keyword variations as possible. So if you've done your keyword research and mapping correctly, you just open up your Google sheet and say, these are all the keywords, these are all on the same page, these are all relevant. So I'll just include, foldable electric bike, bikes that fold, strong foldable bikes, durable, like all the different terms are all related to foldable on the same page. And that was what we call on-page SEO. So you found your keywords. The next stage is applying those keywords on your website, hence the name, on-page SEO.
That makes sense. Now, if people just have the spaghetti strategy where they're just going to take as much content as they can create about their products and throw it up on collections and product pages without doing that first step of keyword research, so they may not use the exact phrase that the customer is using, like what sort of lift do you think, and I assume it's just a guess, I doubt anybody's ever measured this, but like what sort of lift do you get in the amount of search traffic or sales by adding that extra due diligence of actually doing the keyword research, so you're doing things in your customer's language, not in your language?
Great question. You definitely would have an increase than what you had prior. However, that doesn't mean it's a positive and you should do it. And the reason why is there's another part of SEO, not to make it too technical, it's called keyword cannibalization. And that basically is when you have two pages on your website competing for the same term. So if you just mindlessly chuck some keywords on your collection, just assume they are relevant, what can happen is if you already have a blog post on this topic, or maybe you plan to put a blog post in 3 months on the same topic and you publish it, what you'll find is your collection page will compete with your blog post. And only one page can rank. So what happens is one day your collection page will rank, the next day your blog post will rank. And then it's just fluctuating all the time. And eventually you'll lose both pages. And what that means is Google is unsure which page to rank because you have two pages targeting the same term. So then you'd have an issue of redirecting one to the other. And when you do that, the other page may not jump back in rankings. And it's just not a situation you want to be in. And I'll be totally honest, the campaigns we struggle with the most are campaigns when clients come to us like that, where they've just put tons of content out on the website and it hasn't been thought out. And we've got hundreds of pages all competing with each other, because before we do any SEO work, we spend the first literally 2 months trying to tell Google, forget about the last 6 years of this brand and what they've done. This is now correct. And it's basically unlearning. And that takes a lot of time. And the most stressful part about that is it's not in our control. We can't control when Google decides, okay, I agree, this is now the new page. For some brands, it can take 3 weeks. From other brands, no exaggeration, it's been 2 years. but once it pops through, they make all the money back. But it's just too risky. So it's just better to do the research initially, get it right, and you have one less headache, because it's a headache you don't want to have in SEO. It's one of the worst ones you can actually have.
Yep. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So is there anything else for our beginner SEO execution?
Yeah, I would say another low cost effective strategy is, so if we look at what we said so far, you've got your keywords, you've mapped them, you've done the on-page SEO, you've got the keywords on the page, right? So what you've basically done so far is you made it very clear to Google what your website is about. You've got the keywords and you've optimized your website. But that is not enough to rank, because someone could do exactly the same as you. So there's two components to Google that really determine where you rank. And the first part is relevancy, and the second part is authoritative. And again, ignore the buzzwords. They all sound way more technical than they actually are. And if you look at it from Google's perspective, all Google is trying to do when you carry out any search is return the best results to you. Like, imagine, Scott, I don't know, maybe you run 20K and you want to buy some running trainers, right? Maybe you go into Google and you search for yellow running trainers. Imagine if Google returns blue running trainers to you. You're not going to be happy. It's a bad user experience. You won't use Google again. You'll use Bing. So all Google's trying to do is literally give you the best results. So to rank on Google, once you put the basics done, you basically need to convince Google you are the best at what you do and you are the most relevant. So the way you increase your site's relevancy is by publishing blog content, which is related to the collections and products you sell. So if you have, let's use another example. If you have, I don't know, a Shopify website selling humidors, right? Cigar humidors and stuff like that, right? You'd publish blog posts on what is a cigar humidor, how much do humidors cost, and that is all content related to the products you sell. And now when you publish these blogs, you want to link them together and then link them directly back to the collection that targets a transactional type keywords. And that is how you start making it more clear to Google that you are relevant in that cigar humidor niche.
What I do for my client store, so you tell me where I'm wrong here, or if I'm wrong, is we build out those blog articles a lot. I'm a big fan of content marketing, so with my clients, we're doing a lot of that. But what we do is we bring the products into the blog article instead of pointing the blog article to the collections. Is that okay?
That is absolutely fine, and we do that as well because the blogs will attract traffic, and you don't want to have someone to click a button to then go through to the blog. So if you add the products in the blogs, you'll have higher sales, higher conversions, but you still want to be linking to your product or collection page because that's the SEO part, right? The goal isn't to rank the blog post. The goal is to use the blog post to support the product or collection page. So those are the pages that rank. Because again, if you have a blog that is talking about, video lights, right? That's your collection page, selling 50 different video lights that people can buy. And you have your blog post on how to use a video light, right? If you rank number 1 for how to use a video light, you're going to get tons of traffic, but people already have the lights. They're just looking how to use it. Like they're not ready to make a purchase. And that means you're not going to make any more money. So you want to focus on pushing your video light page higher, your collection page, and getting that traffic, because not all traffic is equal. And I think you've probably seen it yourself. A lot of agencies they just literally have one metric. Your traffic's going up. SEO is a success, but it's not. It's only a success if you're making more money, and if you're not, it's all vanity traffic.
Yeah. I've actually had clients where I've told them you need to take these articles down because they're what I call 2 or 3 steps removed from your business. Where you're like I had one, it was foot orthotics, and they were talking about how much water to drink. Like, oh, it's health, but you're not a health site. You're a foot health site, right? There's the difference there, kind of thing. And then the other thing we do for a lot of our clients is we also measure in Google Analytics your email signups, because a lot of SEO traffic, like you're saying, is higher level, so you don't see the result in your sales number directly, but we actually show in our scorecards with our clients the email signups, so that they can see that, at least we're converting them to email, and they're confident that their email strategy will convert them to purchasers down the road. But so we've got this whole list of pages, the keywords, we've mapped it all out. Is that all the beginners need to do? And the reason I ask that is you haven't mentioned yet something that I'm a big fan of, and maybe it's not as important as I think it is, but images and video for that matter, right?
Images and video is definitely important. Another thing I would mention, it's probably related to the keywords, but it's kind of not, because I see a lot of brands still getting this wrong, is if we use another example of a fashion brand, right, that sells maybe, men's shirts, right? They'll have the main collection page for men's shirts, and then you go to the left-hand side of the website, and there's a filter for size, color, material, and that is it. They've got one collection page just for men's shirts, where for every filter you have, you should be having another collection page, and it kind of goes back to the keyword research stuff. So if you see people searching for men's black shirts, men's white shirts, literally build out a whole nother collection, just list the products that are relevant for that collection, and then do the same process. Add content, H1s, URLs, title tags, start to publish blogs, internally link to it, and you will start to rank. And a lot of people see it as, no, if I've got a filter for black shirts and Google knows I sell black shirts, it doesn't, because most times, and 9 out of 10, that filter page is just a dynamic URL and it's not actually indexed, which means Google's not aware of it. So build out as many collections as you possibly can, because you're increasing the chances of getting that traffic. And it leads on to the part you said, images, right? That's assuming you obviously got the traffic. Now, you need high quality images. Like a lot of brands come to us that start off like drop shipping, and they're using kind of images from the drop shipper and the low quality images. And you even if you are drop shipping, I still would recommend just buying the products yourself and taking your own photos to make yourself stand out from the crowd, because people buy with their eyes. It doesn't matter how cheap or how good of a deal is. If I'm going to buy a t-shirt and in the picture it looks crinkled, although I know it's going to come crinkled, I have to iron it myself, I'm less likely to make that purchase. So just make the images really high quality, and you can't be cutting corners on that. It's equivalent of like going to a shopping mall, right? And you're buying trainers that are dirty. Like, I wouldn't do that. I want clean, presented trainers.
Well, I totally agree. Like I have one client, I actually have 4 clients. They all compete against each other in this one drop shipping space. And they're like, 4/5 of the whole market. And if you do a Google shopping query, they all have the exact same drop shippers photos. And I keep telling them all, the first one of you to create your own photos is going to start differentiating, but none of them sit down and actually do that hard work of creating photos. The other thing I was talking about with images is, so when I take my own photo and it says image, underscore 0258.jpg, is there anything I can do from an SEO standpoint for that?
Yeah, you want to. So it depends. There's a thing called KD in SEO as well, called keyword density, and essentially it's how many times you mention the keyword on a page. So if you haven't mentioned the keyword a lot of times on your page in your content below the products in your collection, then you have more room to start mentioning keywords in images, because Google sees that, users don't see it, and you start to increase your keyword density. What you don't want to do is go too aggressive with it and start putting your keyword everywhere, because then you can have what we call over optimization, where you're trying to do too much. And most people don't actually understand this, but if you make it very clear to Google you're doing SEO, it has a negative effect on your website, because, surprise, Google does not like SEOs, because if you do SEO, you don't spend no money on Google ads, and that's where they make the bulk of their revenue. So you want to do SEO without looking like you're doing SEO. So our best practice for images is just to be as descriptive as possible. So if you have a picture of, I don't know, a black office chair, I would literally call it black office chair, and maybe the brand name as well. I wouldn't be putting office chair or black. I would just make it as descriptive as possible, and that way, you shouldn't have any issues. And again, always think long term. You don't want to just rank number 1 today and hit by a Google algo update that comes in 3 months' time and lose all the traffic and rankings.
So back to your collections and having a collection for black shirt, white shirt, yellow shirt. I like that and I get it. And literally today on a client store, we had a mega menu. So they sell old posters, and we had a mega menu for how to search for browse old posters by country, by topic, by age, and all these different categories. And no one ever clicks on it and uses it. So those collections are important from an SEO standpoint, we believe, but they're not important to the browse experience, because they want to see all posters to start. And then they actually do want to use the filters. And we have, a filter app that does a really good job with that kind of stuff. So the question I'm asking is, I make all these collections for all these different colors of shirts, but it's not a good experience to add them to my customer's browse experience. How do I link to?
Great question. That's a really good question, actually. So when you create these collections, the only way people can find them is if they carry out a search in Google for them. They should not be accessible from your menu, your filters, your footer. They're essentially hidden pages. They're only there for SEO purposes. Because if someone, like you said, if someone is on my website and I sell shirts, I don't know, ties, and they want to see what I have available because they don't know what color they want. They don't know what styles I have. They want to browse. And that's when they would have the normal user experience. They go to shirts, to add the filters. That's absolutely fine. But there are thousands of people every month that are searching for men's black shirts. They know what they want. They're further down the buying funnel. So that's where you want to intercept them and say, hey, forget the generic page. We have to play around with filters and just go directly to the black page and you'll find what you want. So they're just there. They're going to be indexed on your website, so Google's aware of them. You're going to be doing SEO to them. You're writing blog posts, building backlinks to them, pushing it up higher in Google, but no one's going to see that on the surface level. But the people who need to see it are the ones who are going to find it.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's totally. So our beginner, I think we covered it for them. You don't have to worry about all the technical stuff. It's just make good content, have a strategy, map it out, which means you have to know your catalog, which is a really good thing. So let's shift gears and move to the opposite side. Let's say we have an existing store that's been in place for 6-7 years. They're doing $100,000 a month or more, so they're established, and they've got a product catalog. Let's say 1,000 products, right? In my client's business, it's a large catalog. But they haven't done this the right way from the beginning. How does that store go into their existing infrastructure and start out and create the map for their keywords? How do they do it the right way, even though they didn't in the beginning? Like you said, those are your nightmare clients. It's a lot more work. What does that store have to do to get that work done? How do they go about rationalizing their non-rational SEO execution so they can clean it up moving forward?
So the first step I would be looking at is the data of the current website. So you can use a free tool like Google Search Console. Hopefully everyone has it installed on the website, but I prefer Google Search Console to Google Analytics, which sounds absolutely crazy. But the reason why I prefer it is because it shows you how your website is performing organically. It shows you what people search for that generated clicks, impressions, your pages, your countries. You can compare. So if you open up the Google Search Console, it will literally tell you what you are getting organic clicks. So it will show your most important pages. So you already know what pages are generating the bulk of traffic. So what I would do as number one is I wouldn't say about 100 collections and I figure out the top 3 collections are, I don't know, men's shirts, men's ties, and men's trousers. Like I wouldn't worry about cufflinks, belts, shoes. I would just focus on those three collections. Now I know what my 3 pages are. I will look at how I can improve them. You take those individual collection pages and plug them in an SEO tool like Ahrefs, which is just literally the letter Ahrefs, or SEMrush. They do exactly the same thing. That will show you all of the keywords that page is ranking for. So now you can see, okay, my page is ranking for all of these keywords. I'm not even actively targeting them. So that's when you can start to say, okay, cool. These are the keywords that I'm somewhat relevant for, maybe on page 5, page 6. Now I want to write better content to add to these collection pages to increase the rankings and generate more organic traffic. So that's the most effective strategy you can do, because you're not reinventing the wheel. You're basically just tweaking what Google already understands to be relevant about for your collections and just further pushing that relevancy. But even once you do that, I would still go back to basics and carry out keyword research, because you need to know, just because you rank for 100 terms, it doesn't mean there's not another 60 terms that people are searching for that you're relevant for. So if you start missing off keywords, literally all you're doing is leaving money on the table, and you don't want to be doing that. You want to make sure you capture as much traffic as possible to increase, your LTVs, all of that. Like, it all comes back to the e-com numbers, and it starts with getting that traffic. And the third thing, which we do, which works really, really well as well, is if you know your client is, I don't know, abc.com, you should take the collection page or the category page or whatever platform they're on, plug that into the same SEO tool, Ahrefs or SEMrush, and again, it will show you all the keywords that they are seen for. Then it's a case of opening your keywords, the keywords, spot the difference, make sure you take ones that are relevant, and go ahead and optimize your website as well.
Okay, so you're just looking at, instead of trying to figure out ahead of time what you want to rank for, you're actually looking at what you rank for, what your competition ranks for, and saying, all right, now let's optimize for those keywords and improve our ranking over time.
Exactly. Fill in the blanks. And it works incredibly well. And I would love if every brand can come to us with a fresh blanket and we just start fresh, but it never works like that. And again, the brands that come to us like that, it's not the end of the world. The ones that are really challenging is when they have pages competing. And just because you've done SEO and you haven't had any strategy in the back end, it doesn't mean you're going to have a keyword cannibalization. Like, for context, if we had, I don't know, 100 inquiries come in, we'd probably see it on about 15 sites, like really bad. So it's like 15%. It's not a high percentage, but it does happen. And again, it does take a lot of time to rectify. And if you're unsure if you have it and you're listening, I'll be happy to take a look, or even one of my guys just to clarify. That's fine. It will take us 5 minutes to do.
Yep. Thanks for that. Now, you mentioned Ahrefs and SEMrush. For the smaller stores, those become significant investments. They're not the cheapest service. Is there a free way to do this, or you just got to bite the bullet? If you're going to be serious about this, you got to pay the cash?
There is a free alternative, but it doesn't give you the data you need. So the free alternative is actually in the Google Ads dashboard. So within Google Ads, there's a thing called Google Keyword Planner, so GKP, and it helps you plan keywords to target for Google ad campaigns. But what you can actually do is you can go into a Google Keyword Planner, again, which is free to use. You have to sign up to a Google Ads account. I think you have to create a fake campaign and say, yes, I want to run ads. And then as soon as you run ads, pause it straight away so no money goes. Then as soon as you have an active card and an active campaign, you can access the data. And you can go into there and say, look, I sell men's black shirts, same example, and it'll give you lots of keywords that are relevant to men's black shirts. You can also take an existing URL and paste it into Google Keyword Planner to get more keyword ideas. So it's a similar process, but it doesn't give you the exact monthly search volume. So when you're using tools like Ahrefs and SEMrush, it will tell you 900 searches per month, 16,000 searches per month. What Google Keyword Planner does is it gives you a range, and the ranges are very broad. It's like 1,000 to 10,000. That could literally be 1,001, and you're spending hours and hours and hours on that, thinking it's a lot higher than that. So the ranges are very, very broad, which doesn't help that much, but it's better than nothing.
SEM and Ahrefs and SEMrush, if I remember correctly, they also give you your ranking and things like that, where there's no free alternative for that, right? So if you want to measure your performance, you're going to have to put the money down, correct?
Yeah, I mean, to check your rankings, the free rate literally is to Google your keyword every day, but it will fluctuate based on your IP address, where you are. So it's not the most efficient. But like I said, I think the best tool someone can use that is free is Google Search Console. It tells you actually your average position, so where you rank across your page free to use. It shows you what you're getting clicks for. It shows you what you're getting impressions for. It shows you the countries. It shows you your top. Like, that is the one tool I could recommend. Like, I could probably rank a website just from using that one tool with no other tool, because it gives you everything you need.
And what I like about Search Console is, I don't know if you use Looker Studio, but Looker Studio is Google's whole data studio. And in Looker Studio, you can bring in Search Console data and Google Analytics data, and you can combine them into one scorecard, and that ends up working out really nicely to have a balanced view.
Spent so many weekends playing around with these little geeky stuff and integrations and creating these custom dashboards that look so colorful. And I show someone like, oh, it looks really cool, man. Yeah, it's all right. I was like, yeah, I spent like 6 hours on this. So yeah, there's so many cool things you could do.
Yeah, I have a scorecard for Shopify stores in Looker Studio. I'm really proud of it, and I use it all the time. Hopefully my clients find value in it too. They don't geek out as much as I do. So SEO is hard. It's complex. There's all this stuff going on. We got this beautiful new technology out there called AI. Should I be using AI in my SEO work? And if so, where's the right place to use it and where's the wrong place to use it?
So we don't actually use AI content in the content we put on client sites. And the reason for that is because it's still very newish. There's still a lot of errors and nuances in AI content as well. Some of them are absolutely amazing. You wouldn't even know they're AI. But the downside, which we find from SEO, is Google's all about serving the best result to users, and AI content is not unique. It's regurgitated content that it finds from what it's been trained on in the models, right? So when you're using AI content to put on your collection pages, for example, all you're doing is copying content from somewhere else on the internet, and it's not unique, which makes it harder to rank. And you want to have control over the content, so you know what keywords to mention, how many times to mention, and what your headers should be. So that's the reason we don't use it on client sites. Where we do use AI content, and we only started this very recently, and we're just kind of trialing it, is there's a part of SEO which I haven't touched on yet, which is, remember I said there's relevancy and authority. Relevancy is your blogs, making it more clear to Google. The other half is authority, and that is link building. So link building, for those who are unaware, is essentially another third-party website linking directly to you. So you go on Wikipedia, you see all the little blue links, you click them, takes you another page, that is a link. And if all is equal, your keywords are the same, your on-page SEO is the same, you're publishing 10 blogs a month, just like your competitors, the deciding difference, and I would argue today, and I have a lot of data to back this up, the most impactful SEO strategy still to this day is link building. It's giving Google the signals that other websites are vouching for your content. And, if you've got two collection pages, both selling, I don't know, laptops, right? And one page has 100 high quality backlinks, 100 high quality websites linking directly to it, it's the votes of confidence. It's a thumbs up. That's what Google looks at in its algorithm to determine who ranks above the other. Where the other collection has 60, well, this is more popular, so I'm going to rank this to Google. I'm going to rank this to users. So link building is very, very effective. And because the links are happening from other third-party websites and linking back to you, the content isn't going on your website. It's going on their website. So that's where we started to train a little bit and play with a bit of AI content. Again, when I say play, we're using 10% AI, 90% human. We still can't go all in AI because if the backlinks don't work and our clients don't rank, we can't really risk that. So that's the only place we're looking at using AI in the content. We are using it for briefs to figure out what we should produce, headings, outlines. But again, our team are still going into that and editing it, because what we're finding is the keyword density is off. They're not targeting keyword variations. And I think it's because we're still at the early stages. So for me, I guess we're being a bit more cautious because we have a lot of clients that rely on us to generate organic revenue. So, we're not kind of testing too much and kind of taking a lot of risk. I do actually own a few e-com brands myself, and I'm going very ham with AI content on them, so I can get some data to determine what we're going to do going forward. Because there's a lot of people on X and Twitter, saying AI content works, AI content doesn't, and I can't base my client success on what I saw on Twitter. Like, I need my own data. So yeah, what I'm seeing so far though, because you're probably wondering, is it was working really, really well, and there was a Google algorithm update that came out 2 months ago now, and one of the sites actually tanked and the other is staying stagnant. And I've done nothing different on these sites. They're in the same niche, different content, same products, and same AI, same processes. And one's tanked, one's flat. So already have a bit of reservations, like why has one gone down, why hasn't? Is Google just like a Google? They have a part of the ranking segment called random ranking factor, which basically means if two sites do exactly the same thing, Google may throttle one just so it's hard to figure out what works in SEO. I don't know if the site has it or yet. It's still very early days, but I'm sure I'll find out. Sorry if I got very geeky there. I get carried away with this stuff.
I love those answers, and I have two questions for you, and they're very different, right? So the first one is, or maybe it's more of a comment on this one. What I like to use AI for in SEO or just content generation is outlines. Like, write me an outline for an article about this thing. Like I'll even do podcast episodes that way, where I'll like give me an outline for this, and I might use 1/4 of it, but it'll like probably it usually fills in the gaps of what I wasn't thinking of, kind of thing. So I like it for that. Now, on the other side of this is on the link building side. You mentioned how important link building was, and I thought it was less important than it used to be. Like I have clients who have no links at all to their website, or almost literally like 5, and that's it, right? And they do really well with link building. I had a client who back in 2019, I told them an SEO strategy for them would be a waste of time unless they got like 100 links to their website, because I looked at all their competition and saw how much authority they had when they had way more than 100 links. So like, go to a link building strategy. And then it appeared to me that in 2020 Google ranked the content on the site more valuable than the links, and this company who did an SEO strategy started getting 40-50% of their revenue from SEO, proving me completely wrong in what I was saying. So and I heard you say links are a tie, which to me seems like it's still content first, links second. Is that all accurate?
I would say content is important because it's the foundation of your website. And if you go back to the example of content and keyword research being the foundation of a house, no matter what you do on top of it, even if you get the best links in the world, you get Forbes linking to you, the Wall Street Journal, all these massive sites, loads of authority, right? You're still not going to rank if Google doesn't know what your site is about, because what is it ranking you for? You've got all this authority, but you're not relevant on any topic. So getting the content on there is, to me, always going to be number one, because Google reads content as a content. But second thing is links, because again, with all these AI tools coming out now, guess what? Everyone can produce content in mass, and they're using outlines. Some people are writing the whole blog post in AI and just shoving it online, and yet 20 blogs going to build that relevancy, going to do my, and it's like, wow, like, how can you compete with that if you're using human writer, right? It's a lot harder. So it's not just about the quantity of what you're doing, it's the quality in it. So, links are very, very effective. And I'll give you a really good example. We took on this client I went to the Ecom Expo in London in October. I think they onboarded in February this year. And they're an ecom brand. They sell these surfboards, all custom designed by an artist in London. And they wanted to rank for surfboards, paddle boards, some other relevant keywords like charges and stuff like that. But anyway, they went to rank for those terms. They had all the SEO perfect. They had blogs. They were doing 6 blogs a month, handwritten. They had the keyword research done perfectly. They had a guy in-house doing this. They had everything, H1's title, but they weren't ranking. They're ranking on page 2, which to me isn't ranking, because we have a joke in the SEO industry. The best place to hide a dead body is on the second page of Google, because no one's ever going to find it. No one goes there. So they're ranking on page 2, but they weren't making any money. So what did we do? We onboarded them and said, look, I know what you're missing. You're just missing high quality links. And he went on to Fiverr in the past. He's purchased these links. He knew links were important, but it's not links. It's the right type of links. Now, if you're buying links on sites that everyone can go and buy, and the links farms and these sites are set up just to link to people, it's going to add no value. You want links on real sites that have real traffic and have real authority. So we built him, I think it was 9 links a month from February up until April. So not even that many, not even that long. And yeah, he jumped up to position 3. And the only difference we done was publish or acquire these high quality links and publish the content as part of the guest post. But again, links are incredibly effective. And I personally believe, from all the data we see, I think Google has given more weight to links because everyone is using AI content. So it needs somewhere else, which is harder to kind of misinterpret, I would say.
Yeah, I didn't think about that part. Like, yeah, in 2020 you didn't have AI content, but now you do. So they have to adjust. That's fascinating. Now, you mentioned high quality links. So can you explain the difference between high quality links and low quality links, and some, a couple best practices on how to get high quality links?
Yes. I would say in one statement for people to understand it, and I'll expand on it as well, is the most valuable link you can acquire is a link that is really, really hard to replicate. So if you go into, I don't know, a famous, I don't want to name a website because I may get in trouble. They may find me and complain. If you go into a very common website where you can upload the content yourself and get a backlink, because you upload it, you write what it's about, and it links to you, wow, you've managed to manipulate Google and get a backlink. Great. But if it's that easy to do, your competitor can do that whilst they're watching Netflix, which means that link now has no value because everyone has it. So you always want to focus on links that are harder to acquire. So that's the mindset you should have when you're building links. So there are different types of links you can get, right? You can get PR, you can get niche edits, you can get guest posts, you can do there's so many different types of links. The best links that we seem to work best is guest post links, because you're basically a guest on someone else's website. You're writing the content, you control it, you control the hyperlink text that links back to your website, you control what page you link to. It gives you full control. And the more control you have, the less variables there are, and the more you can kind of basically predict you getting really good results from SEO. So that's the first type. Guest post links is what I would focus on. Now, it doesn't mean you should go and email every website out there, say, hey, can I write for you? Can I write for you? You want to focus on sites that are somewhat relevant to your niche. So if you have an ecom brand selling maybe, I don't know, garden fertilizers, right? You want to get a link from another site that is at least in the outdoor niche. It doesn't have to be a like-for-like garden site because it's going to be limited, but it needs to be somewhat in the outdoor niche. Getting a link from a generic magazine that talks about Kim Kardashian and what's going on in the sports, like that's not relevant. Like you want to try and get as much relevant as possible because that is a high quality link. Now, the second thing you want to check is, does this site actually get organic traffic? And you can check this using tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, another one called SimilarWeb, which I think gives you like 10 free searches a day. So again, free to do as well, you just have to spread it out. But if you find this site gets no organic traffic or maybe just 50 users a month, then what that means is Google's not ranking that site for keywords, so Google doesn't like it. So why do you want a link from that site? You don't, right? So again, that's another criteria. There's a metric called domain rating in SEO, which basically is kind of like domain authority from Moz. It tells you how authoritative a website is. Again, you want to use that as a rule of thumb. You don't want to be getting links from sites that are below domain rating 20 because they're not authoritative. So the whole point of link building is to build your authority. So, getting links from sites that aren't authoritative kind of undermines the whole strategy. So there's lots of criteria you can use, and that's just free. A fourth one, again, is probably really effective, is when you're plugging these sites into these tools, you want to double check they haven't been penalized by any Google algo updates. And what we found is we actually took on a client years ago now, I think it was 2021, 2022. And when we looked at their backlink profile, they had loads of high quality backlinks. And I thought, oh, these look really great. They got traffic, they got high domain ratings. And when we looked at those sites in a bit more detail, what we found is, I think it was 65% of them have actually been penalized. So although they still had like 3,000 visitors a month, they were getting 60,000, but they've lost so much of the traffic because they've done dodgy SEO stuff. So you really need to pay a lot of attention and do enough due diligence when it comes to link building, because like I said, if you get these links that are easy to replicate or they have no value, you are literally just throwing money down the drain. So do avoid Fiverr by all means. What you literally are putting your money on fire, literally.
Well, and do links from social, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, do they help or are they negligible?
They help, but they don't have much value because they're very easy to replicate. So like if you was to say put this podcast episode on YouTube, which I know you do anyway, and then link to maybe my website, Josh from ClickSlice, and then like that's great. But then my competitor could just go and publish a video of literally him doing a selfie in the garden and then and then it's the same thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't look at how many views you have, your engagement. Google looks at this is a backlink from YouTube. Here's a backlink from YouTube. And what you'll find is these backlinks aren't even indexable, or when I say indexable, they're actually no follow. So I don't want to get too technical again, but there's different types of links. You have a do follow link and a no follow link. So do follow link is any normal link you'd add on your website, and Google follows this, hence the name do follow, helps your SEO rankings. Then a no follow link is a link you add to the user. It looks exactly the same, but there's a bit of code in the HTML which says no follow, which basically means Google will not follow this link and not give that website any SEO benefit of it.
Yep. So if you're going to invest in a link building strategy, social is not the way to do that.
No, like you want to focus on guest post links, sites that are real, have traffic, have authority, have been hit by Google updates that are, that are somewhat relevant to your niche. And then you want to focus on, right, once you find these, you want to reach out to them, send them emails, send them titles you can write, go back and forth and maintain link velocity. That's a very, very key thing. And it's very hard to do, which is why I think most people outsource it to agencies, is you don't just want to get one link a month, 2 links a month, because all you're doing is saying, that website vouches me, that website vouches. The more links you have, the more momentum you build. And momentum is absolutely key in SEO. And as you probably realize from the clients you work with, SEO compounds as well. So, it really is dramatic when you start doing it for, at least 6 months, I would say.
Yeah. Well, the thing I love about SEO is, you'll create this content in 2016 and it still gives you 3,000 visitors a month today kind of thing. It's the gift that keeps giving when it works. So it's just most of the time if you do it right.
I agree. Like I was saying to you before we started recording the podcast, like we're an SEO agency and all of our leads come from SEO. People searching for, Shopify SEO agency. We rank number 1 in the UK, and we made that page years ago. It still brings in leads till this day, and I don't have to run paid social ads, no Google ads. I mean, we actually run Google ads anyway because we like to get 2 spots on Google because both search intent. But I can't stress it enough. Even if you're watching this now and you're a brand and you just started out, if you've got a budget, I know it doesn't matter what your budget is, but just allocate some to SEO. You don't have to hire anyone. You can do it yourself. Just start investing, because even if you want to exit your brand in the future, it's way more appealing to a buyer when it has organic traffic and it's not all reliant on paid ads.
Excellent. So last topic for you, and it's kind of a nice segue you just did there, is small brands or just Shopify stores, brands that are growing, they want to do SEO. How much the SEO should they do themselves? How much can they do themselves? And when do you know it's time to bring in some professional help?
Okay, there's 3 questions in one. I have to remember them. My memory's getting quite bad. It's Friday, 6:30 it's almost 7 p.m. in the UK. So the first one was how much SEO can they do themselves, right? If I got that correct.
Well, how much can they do themselves and how much should they do themselves? Like, it's technically possible, and there's you should know this before you hire the experts, if you understand the difference there.
So I would say, as a brand owner, you should know the products you sell, at least the collections, maybe not the individual products. So you should be okay to do the initial keyword research. List out all the keywords that your collections are relevant for. The keyword mapping, you can do that yourself. It's going to take a lot of time, and if you don't have tools, it's going to be a lot harder. I'm a big believer of, if you're not an expert in it, outsource it. So a good example is I probably could run some meta ads. I probably could run some Google ads myself. I mean, when I say me, I mean me. The agency can, we have specialists, but that's not my skill set. Like, I'm better off using my time, what I'm good at. So if I'm an e-com brand owner, I'm probably good at sourcing products, supplier negotiations, and maybe the branding, right? That's where I come in. So I would honestly outsource every part you don't know 100%, because if you do make mistakes, you are going to cost yourself a lot of time and wasted money in the future paying someone to rectify them. But if you do have time, you are, very resourceful. You can go into YouTube, you can go into Udemy. I actually have a lot of courses on Udemy. Actually, the best-selling SEO course, funny enough, I made during lockdown. So there's a lot of stuff out there that you can learn. But like I said, you want to just figure out, is that really the best use of your time right now?
Yep, makes a lot of sense. So, and it goes without saying that ClickSlice is always available for brands to contact if they want to do SEO. We'll have a link in the show notes to your website. Love all the information you've just given us. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Is there anything Shopify store owners should think about with SEO that we haven't covered?
No, other than just the last point I hit on is, like, do think long term. And we have had like a few horror stories where brands have come to us where they were literally all relying on meta ads to generate their sales, and their meta ads account got banned, or the Google ads account got banned, and their traffic just gone overnight. And they're now like, I need to do SEO, I need results tomorrow. It's like, SEO does not work like that. When you're doing SEO, you're looking at a minimum of 6 months. You can get results quicker if you're an established brand and been around for years, but if you're starting from scratch, you need to lay out at least 6 months, and even longer depending on the keywords you're targeting. So, like I said, even if you want to do things yourself, just learn some videos on YouTube or Udemy, whatever, just start implementing something. Don't leave it too late, because we hear it all the time, and there's nothing we can do, and it puts a lot of pressure on us. And we would never say yes to a client. Yeah, we'll take you on and get your results next week. We only do that if it's a large brand and we know we just pull a few levers, build a few links, and they're there. So that would be my final words. Think long term, invest in SEO in some way or another. And keep going onwards and upwards.
Excellent. Thanks for your time today. I appreciate it, Josh.
No worries. Thanks, Scott.
You've been listening to the Shopify Solutions Podcast with Scott Austin. This podcast is brought to you by Jade Puma, a Shopify-focused agency located in San Diego, California. If you like what you heard, please leave a review and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to work with Scott on your brand, email him at scott@jadepuma.com.